Well, the upset loss to Kansas State on the road certainly turned things upside down for the once #1 rated Texas Longhorns. And internally, as an organization, Charlie Strong's really got to keep a close eye on how things are being handled from within, from the seniors on down to the younger guys that really have a lot of influence on this team. A loss like this could really wreck the program and their hopes for this season. And they're not completely dashed. Yes, they are ranked number 8 in the BCS right now, and all the teams ahead of them, you know, they've beaten Oklahoma. They still got a chance against Baylor, but for the most part, there are 6 squads ahead of them that really don't intersect with one another much, other than teams like Ohio State and Michigan. But outside of that, there's not a lot of opportunities for teams to lose or to beat each other up. And so a lot of chips have to fall just a certain way for Texas to get back into the national championship. And quite frankly, maybe that's not even where their attention should be right now. Maybe Texas needs to be thinking otherwise, and as far as this program goes, and continuing to build that dynasty and not getting so much caught up in how things are going in this current season. But of course, this season isn't a complete loss. There are still goals that they want to achieve. They want to win the Big 12. They want to see guys excel on a personal level as well. Chris Warren's still hanging around. He is kind of sliding down the list a little bit on the Heisman Trophy chase, sitting at number 5 right now. 4 of the 5 guys are halfbacks, a couple of returning familiar faces from last year's race. But as the season has kind of slid, so have the personal award races. The Longhorns players have kind of slid in that race. But one thing that's still within the Longhorns' grasp, as I said, is the Big 12 championship. They sit only behind Baylor, who is the lone undefeated team in the Big 12 right now. Texas and Oklahoma sit with 1 loss in the conference, and by virtue of their victory over the Sooners, Texas holds that tiebreaker. So, with a pending matchup coming up in a few weeks, which will actually be senior day for the Longhorns against Baylor, if they win that game, assuming they win out the rest of the way, there is plenty of opportunity for them to win the Big 12. The Big 12 conference is still well within their control as long as they win out. But one thing that does tend to come up, and is part of real life within programs, within teams, especially with young guys, when you're dealing with 18, 19-year-old guys up into even seniors who are just barely into their early 20s, the maturation process hasn't completely come through, and you'll get guys that are good leaders, but there's going to be things that pop up, and Charlie Strong's got a bit of an issue. After last week's loss to Kansas State, his Tyrone Swoops had gone down, and he's going to be sitting out for 2 additional weeks, which means Gerard Hurd is going to have to step in. There's been a bit of a fallout, and guys that you don't expect in their character to speak up and speak out and really make comments and to question the coaches and to question the philosophy and just to question the way that the team struggled to come back and beat Kansas State despite the defense holding strong, the struggles on the offensive side. And so to make a long story short, Texas tight end Devonair Clarington, the Mackey Award runner-up from last year and the man that was thought to be the favorite this year, who was kind of faded, he voiced some frustrations in the public, and the sophomore really shouldn't have done that. He should have handled that behind closed doors. And so, long story short, it's resulted in Charlie Strong making a decision to sit the sophomore for the first half of this week's game, a home game against Iowa State. And hopefully Devonair Clarington will learn his lesson. Hopefully that sends a message to the rest of the squad, because really there's enough distractions with the loss. There's enough distractions with Tyrone Swoops going down with his injury, and Gerard Hurd has been questioned quite a bit in his limited play. His accuracy just hasn't been there. He hasn't been able to carry the team, and he wasn't able to carry the team. He missed some wide open guys late in the game last week against Kansas State that if he would have just hit one of them, if he would have completed one of those 3rd down passes, it would have kept the clock running, it would have kept the ball in the hands of the Longhorns. It would have kept Kansas State from even getting the ball and the opportunity to score. Now, granted, there were some special teams miscues that popped up, and all of that's not the quarterback's fault, but when you're the quarterback, you're the leader of the team, you're going to be up on a pedestal and you're going to be seen. Every mistake is magnified. And so Gerard Hurd, he's got some work that he's got to do. He's going to have to prove himself this week, or he's going to have to face the scrutiny. I mean, that's what you want and what you accept as the number one quarterback. And this week, he is the number one quarterback. His ratings actually are very competitive. He has a better overall rating than Tyrone Swoops. His running skills are better. His passing skills are very similar. But his awareness, just his field awareness, his situational awareness, his understanding of coverage and knowing where to throw the ball, it really limits his ability to execute upon the God-given talents that he has. And that's his biggest hurdle, and so he's going to have to overcome that. And Texas is not going to hide from him. They're going to definitely use him. And in the meantime, you know, he's got to... He can't even guarantee himself that he's going to be the starter next year, as we've got Brandon Williams coming in, the top quarterback prospect out of the state of Illinois, the top quarterback in the entire nation coming in next year as a true freshman, could challenge him for that spot. And there you see Brandon Williams out of Rock Island, Illinois. Lots of speed, decent accuracy, a pretty strong arm, especially for a guy that scrambles around. You don't expect to see a big, strong arm. But looking at his numbers as he's going to be coming as a freshman, he's very similar to Tyrone Swoops. So a lot of comparisons can be made there. Texas, of course, has a strong class going for them this year. And this week is very important coming up against Iowa State. We've got, I believe, 9, maybe 10 guys coming in on visits. A lot of guys making the trip in. And so it's obviously, there's a reason you schedule visits against teams like Iowa State, because you want to bring guys in whenever you expect to win. You want to get that boost and that bonus and feed off of the energy of a victory. But after last week's game against Kansas State, I mean, anything can happen. And it's important to note that Iowa State actually beat Oklahoma State on the road. And Oklahoma State is ranked number 13 right now. And so Texas has got to have their... They've got to have their alerts turned on to level 10, if you know what I'm saying. They've got to be well aware that Iowa State has the capability. They've proved that they're able to win on the road and win against a ranked opponent. And so Texas fits the bill. They've even got the same orange uniforms, you know, so Iowa State's going to be like, hey, you know, we've done this before. So Texas got to be ready to play. There's a lot on the line, not just for this season, as they want to try to bounce back. Gerard Hurd wants to prove himself, but also in recruiting, there's a lot of guys coming in that if Texas wins this game and wins it like they should, that it could lead to a lot of recruiting chips falling into place as Texas tries to solidify this class, which should be a top, really a top 5. I mean, top 10 if you want to be conservative. But if they're able to sign the guys that it looks like they should be able to, I believe we're looking at what could very easily be a top 5 class. And so, again, very, very important that Texas wins this week, as we've got guys like Lewis Pittman, Brad Wright, Jeremy Johnson. I mean, Michael Powers, we've already signed him, but the biggest majority of these guys we've scheduled for this game this week. And there's a few guys that are still going to come in against Baylor, but just kind of taking a look through at the guys scheduled for this week, which is week 11, as we scroll through and just take a look. So Brad Wright coming in this week, as is Nick Johnson, Kevin James as well. Noah Walters has already been in. Jeremy Johnson coming in this week versus Iowa State. David Davis, the offensive guard, he'll be here as well. Todd Robinson coming in as well. Reggie Williams, he's already come in. Mr. Merriman's been in, or he will be coming in. Stokes has been in. Everett will be here this week, as will Moses, and Jeremy Noble, the middle linebacker. So we've got a few complimentary visits scheduled here. Some guys that should enjoy each other's company. And so you see a lot of guys offensive and defensive side there. So we've got to have a strong performance from both sides. And we expect the defense to show up. They haven't slipped up. Doesn't mean they can't. But we expect big things from the defense. Of course, the question mark, though, is whether or not the offense can hold up on their end of the bargain. And so Iowa State coming in with a maintenance game management quarterback in Roach, who we faced last year. Tyrone Swoops, obviously, we're without him and his basically give and take 1-and-1 touchdown to interception situation. There you see Iowa State. They've played everybody close. They only lost to Baylor by a touchdown. TCU was a bit of a stretch. They beat Oklahoma State in a low-scoring contest by 3. Again, that one was on the road. They played Oklahoma to a 4-game contest and then just destroyed Iowa early in the season. And so Iowa State playing about 500 ball, but really they've got the capability to hang with just about anybody, as they've shown. But big questions await for Texas. Can they bounce back from adversity for the first time as defending national champions? Check back soon. If you enjoyed today's video, make sure to leave a like, share, or comment below, and subscribe if you haven't. And next time you're shopping online at Amazon or eBay, use the links I've provided below in the description to help support my channel. Thanks, and we'll see you next time.